Welcome back, Dolphins. So in this film breakdown, you are going to see it's kind of just the same thing that's been happening over and over again. The score makes it look like they're just this significantly better team than us. What it basically comes down to is, number one, Chris Grier has not built this team in order to play teams like this. And number two, even on top of that, we could have had a shot in this game, and you'll see it, if the mental mistakes just did not happen. You got the Malik Washington fumbling the punt in the beginning of the game, right after we stopped them. Such a momentum shift. You stop them, almost make them fumble, and we're getting the ball back. You start seeing Tua not hitting throws that he normally hits, that if he hits these throws, man, it's a different game. There's one, Tyreek Hill, if he hits that throw, it's a touchdown. It's just over and over again. We get to these teams and the mistakes, we play the bad teams and we're so confident in beating these teams that we don't make these lapses. And then we play these big time teams and the mental mistakes just start piling up. So what you're going to see with some of these plays is the weaknesses in the offseason get exposed. We're trying to pinpoint what happens with this Dolphins team because we rely on hope, but we don't look at these things objectively. And what I'm starting to see is that the way that this team is built, and you'll see it in this game, is it was built based upon shiny Ferrari things, and it was not built to beat the best football teams. Honestly, almost like a ticket guzzler. That's what this team was built by. All these crazy awesome plays throughout the season. But when you face these good teams, they have built two things: offensive line, defensive line. That's what they have built. And this is why these teams win in these cold weather conditions, because number one, you need depth at both those positions because you're going to face injuries. This is the most combobulation happens for the offensive line and the defensive line. That's when the most injuries happens, because this is where it's the center point where everything is happening. So depth is the first thing. But the second thing is that you're relying on this speed, fast, all of these different things. Good coaches know how to take certain things away. So what they end up doing is exposing this offensive line, which has been kind of like this is a stupid play by Malik Washington right here. He should have. It's just too many mistakes. You're going to see so many mistakes in this game, and Malik Washington had a horrible game. Play right here, runs it back into his defender. I don't know what he was trying to do here. Just a complete bonehead play by Malik Washington. But again, like these are the things that have been happening every single season with Chris Grier and Mike McDaniel. We get exposed. So you're going to see right here, this is Tua making a pretty nice pass to Mostert. This is in the second quarter. We're down 14-3. Just already coming up on us after that Malik Washington screw up. And again, should have had 7 points on that. And you'll see Tua as well. Tua is just missing certain throws, and it affected us. The first half is completely different than the second half. We just looked not ready. We looked not ready for this team. Great pass by Tua. Tua wasn't the problem solely, but he wasn't the person that could have saved us this game. He made a lot of mistakes. This whole team made a lot of mistakes. Pretty pass right there from Tua, but first quarter, second quarter, they were missing so many throws. So now we're down 21-3, and there's just really no way that we're coming back at this point. We're trying to get down the field, but they just couldn't do it. And again, there was throws that Tua made in the second half that if he made in the first half, would have been a much closer game. Much closer game. And as you can see, he's getting pressure in his face every single play. The problem with this team is that they have not built the offensive line. And in the offseason, if they don't, I mean, there's just no way that you don't decide to go and grab a bunch of offensive linemen this offseason, because clear as day, this is the problem every single season with this team, is that their offensive line is not built good enough, so good teams take advantage of this. You'll see right there, again, another pass that if Tua makes this pass right here, this is the problem with this team. There's too many damn mistakes. If he makes this pass, you can watch Tyreek Hill. He's probably going to take it up the sideline for a touchdown, and it'll be 21-10 going into halftime. We have a shot. You know, and it's just an underthrown ball. We end up going to halftime with 21-3 or 24-3 or something like that. Yeah, I think that was a third down or something like that, or 3rd and 5. And, you know, it just, stupid mistakes like that, you know, underthrowing a ball right there. You're getting paid hundreds of $1 million to make that throw. If he makes that throw to Tyreek Hill, the safety's coming down. He's too far out. They end up scoring a field goal. But if he makes that throw, Tyreek Hill takes it into the end zone or goal line at the least. And at this point, they had been getting to Tua and getting so much pressure that we're just trying to get the ball off quick. You know, this is what we were doing the whole game, trying to get the ball off quick. And in the second half, Tua starts making these throws that he needs to make. And it's frustrating because it's like, if you had just made, there was a Odell Beckham, there was a Jalen Waddle, that Tyreek ball right there. There was multiple throws that if he made that in the first half, completely different game. You know, it's a completely different game. You know, and it's like, if you combine all the mistakes, this falls on the head coach. You combine all the mistakes, this is what loses you games. It's not that they're better teams than us. It's just we make too many damn mistakes in these games. You know, even one right there, Jonnu Smith almost fumbled it to him. When you play, I don't want to get into the playoffs and be one and done. I want to be able to beat these types of teams. That's what every team wants to do. You want to beat the best teams. And it's like, when you make all these mistakes over and over and over again, including in the defense, which we'll get on that eventually, because the second half was a completely different Dolphins team. You know, the second half was a legit, completely different Dolphins team that we had. They only scored a couple field goals on the defense in the second half. And Tua and this offense were making throws and moving down the field. If they just did that in the first half and didn't have so many damn mistakes. Look at this. Perfect throw right here. If he makes that to Tyreek Hill, it's the same scenario. And unfortunately, whenever we play these teams, we just make so many mental errors and we just can't come back from it. You know, we thought with the Bills, because the Bills, we did not make mental errors, so we assumed that was over. But then when we play these types of teams, the mental errors, they come in bunches. I see a touchdown right here by Devon Achane. And like I said, if we just didn't have these mental errors, this game probably would have been way closer. You know, I mean, I didn't even want to show the missed tackles from Tucker Kraft and, you know, all the broken tackles. I think there was one play that some dude broke 5 tackles. I mean, we're paying all these players to be able to do stuff like that. They need to be able to do stuff like that. Like, it's just absolutely ridiculous. Again, right here, another beautiful throw by Tua to Tyreek. If he makes these throws in the beginning of the game, it's a different story. And I know I keep saying that, but it's just 3 years, especially under Mike McDaniel, that every time we play these good teams, we get blown out. We think it's just they're a better team than us. And then we look at these film breakdowns, and it's just like, man, if we just did not make these mental mistakes, if we just built this team better, we could beat any of these teams. This team is built almost good. It's just, it's not there yet. And the problem, it falls on the coach, falls on the quarterback. Because, you know, a lot of the throws in the beginning of the game, if Tua makes these, different game. We're at the goal line, and instead of them getting the ball, we're at the goal line scoring. It's a 7-point differential, probably a 14-point differential. We go into the half like 10 to 21 or 10 to 14. Different ball game. But again, like I said, at the beginning of the game, Malik Washington does something completely stupid, gives him 7 points. Okay, happens. But then Tua starts missing throws. We're not moving the ball at all. We start missing tackles, 14-0. Okay, whatever. And then we make another mental error, and boom, 21 to 3. See, you make a throw like this, a beautiful throw. I think it's again to Jalen Waddle, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, pretty sure it's Jalen Waddle throws it. You make this type of throw to Tyreek and Waddle in the first half, it's a different game. Look at this. Beautiful. Right in between 4 people. The cold didn't affect him in the second half. But this is what I'm saying. I don't understand. I think on top of everything, the cold is in the Dolphins players' heads. Like they get in their head too much. And I think that'll be it for this. Again, offensive line, defensive line. We did not build that. Chris Grier has not built that. Laughed at everyone when we decided to talk about it. And again, every time we play one of these teams, it ends up coming to fruition that they start exposing our offensive line and our defensive line. It sucks because we are kind of right there, but we're not, because the offensive line and the defensive line for the last 3 years, including this year, have been the issue. That Chris Grier decides to not address it, spend money on all these other flashy players, which they're great, but every time we play one of these good teams, doesn't matter how many of those flashy players that we have, we end up failing because the base of our team is not built to play these teams. Liam Eichenberg, Kendall Lamb got exposed. Teron Armstead, what it looked like is that we all thought that Teron Armstead was resting this week. No, he has been playing with a knee injury, and it showed yesterday, because when you're in the cold, it hurts way more. So he looked like a different player, and Tua was taking pressure after pressure, and I'm not putting this on Tua, second half and part of the second quarter, he looked all right. But again, sped Tua up, flustered Tua, and he was missing throws in the beginning of the first half, and he missed throws that he normally would make, and if he did make those throws, we probably would have been in this game. So it is what it is. Sorry it was so late. It's been a very horrible Miami sports week, because both of my teams are now out of the playoffs, the University of Miami and the Miami Dolphins. But fins up, baby. We'll keep it going. Love you all. Peace.